hear God's voice. That's what I'll be teaching on tonight. But let's go into prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you, Lord, for bringing us here again today. Thank you, Father, Lord, that we get to come to your house. We get to fellowship with you. We get to give praise, honor, and glory. We thank you for the freedom, Lord, that you have given us. Thank you, Father, Lord, for all your blessings, all your mercies, Lord, everything that you have done for us. Father, I just commit, Lord, this lesson to you. I commit my mind, Lord. I commit everything, my thoughts. I ask, Lord, that you will speak through me and give your people hearing ears and receiving heart. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
How to hear God's voice. And as Christians, sometimes, some of us, we have trouble hearing God's voice. It's not very difficult, but I think we make it difficult. If you're a Christian, if you're a child of God, you should know, God's voice. You should know his voice when he speaks to you. It's imperative that we know how to hear his voice, that we hear when he speaks, because if we're not capable of hearing, if we don't recognize him, we can find ourselves in a world of hurt. John 10:27 says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Now, Jesus refers to us as sheep, okay? If you're a Christian, if you confess Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you're his sheep. Notice he didn't just say sheep. He said his sheep. We are his sheep. We belong to him. Alright? In the psalmist David said, we are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Right? What does the sheep do? The sheep follow the shepherd. The shepherd leads the sheep, and the sheep is supposed to follow. We should desire, to want to hear his voice. We should have that yearning as a sheep to want to hear him. If you have a friend and you never speak to that friend never speaks to you. You don't know anything about the friend. You just know that they're there. You know that they come, you see them and they live next door to you, or you work in the same place, or, they're just there. But you don't know their name. You don't know if they're married, if they have kids. You just don't know. They're just there. That's not really a friend. That's an acquaintance.
Amen.
And, it's sad, but many of God's sheep treat him as an acquaintance, right? Instead of a friend, instead of the shepherd, he's just there, right? And you're not going to have much of a relationship or know anything about God when you treat him that way. So we should, we should be in a relationship with him. We should want to get to know him, get to know, what he likes, what he doesn't like, know what pleases him, know what his word says. And the only way we are going to get to know him is to have fellowship. How do we have fellowship? Number one, we get into his word. God speaks through his word. He really does. And if we're listening, we will hear what his word says. His word is there to feed us. His word is there to teach us. His word is there to encourage us. His word is there to point us in the right direction. His word is there to give us strength, when we're weak. We live in an imperfect world and things happen. And sometimes we get discouraged. Sometimes we feel like, we're just broken down. We don't have the strength. There were times when I've been there. I felt so weak, not necessarily physically, but emotionally. that I just couldn't even pray for myself, you know. And God is so faithful that He would speak to some other person to pray for me. Now, what if that person isn't listening? You know, what if, you know, they just shrug it off? I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I almost did that this morning. After prayer, you know, I usually pray before the services, and I wasn't teaching this morning in children's church, so I knew I was going to sit in church, but I felt like I needed to stay back in the sanctuary and just pray. So while I'm back there, I started out praying for the service and started out praying for different ones. But then all of a sudden, I found myself praying about this lesson tonight. Now, for some reason, I thought I was teaching next Sunday. And the Holy Spirit said, I heard Him say, you're teaching tonight. I said, no, I'm not. I'm teaching next Sunday, it's the third Sunday, so I whip out my handy phone and I pull up the calendar and I look and I counted 1, 2. This is the second Sunday, so the third Sunday is next Sunday. Good, so I put the phone back up and then continue praying. Got home, and then I heard it again. You're teaching tonight. No, I'm not. It's the third Sunday. But then I stopped and I thought, wait a minute. This is the second time that that I heard that. Am I missing something? So I flashed out the text to Pastor. And I fully expected to hear next week. Imagine my surprise when the text came back and said, you're teaching tonight. I'm like, what? I really didn't prepare for this lesson. I had some things that I was working on earlier this week. But see, the Holy Ghost, He was trying to pull my fat out of the fire. But if I didn't listen, see, if I didn't take heed, I'm kind of jumping ahead here, I would have shown up here tonight and they would have been looking at me. But see, when you have a relationship with God, you can know when He's speaking to you, and you can, when you hear, and even when you're not sure, if you take heed, you pay attention. We don't pay attention to God's voice like we should. We hear things and we reason it away, We're not supposed to be like that, because Jesus said that His sheep hear His voice. And if we're His sheep and He is saying that we hear His voice and we're not hearing His voice, then we ought to take heed and pay attention and say, well, Lord, why am I not hearing your voice? What is wrong? Pay attention, Sometimes we have to do that. So fellowship is very important. Last week, a friend of mine called me from upstate New York, and she shared some things with me that she felt she couldn't share with anyone else. We hadn't seen each other in years. I mean, literally years. And of all the people in her life, she felt comfortable enough to call and share this with me. This is how it should be with us and God. We should feel that we're able to talk to Him, right? Because He wants to talk to us. He's listening, His ears. The psalmist David said that His ears are open to the cries of His people. He never sleeps or slumbers. Jesus, He's never tired. God is never tired. He's never fed up with us, right? He wants to fellowship with us. And fellowshipping is a two-way street. It's not just, come and just unload and then get up and leave. Right? It's listening and taking heed, because it's in those times when we take to listen that we hear. We hear what the Lord is saying. We hear His voice. We get direction. We get answers, we get solutions to problems that, that we couldn't solve before. So fellowshipping is important. And it's not just every now and then. A lot of God's children, a lot of his sheep fellowship with him now and then. I like to compare it to a spare tire. We treat him like a spare tire. The spare tire, we keep it in the trunk of the car. And we don't even know that it's there or think of it until we get it flat. When, the car is vibrating and then we realize, oh, we have a flat. Then we jump out and we take the spare tire. And sometimes we neglected it so long that it's flat too. One time I had a flat and some guy came up to help me. And my spare was flat. Now that's sad. We had to go across the street on 431, cross that busy highway with my spare to put air in it and then come back and change my tire. But isn't it sad that that's the way we treat God, like a spare tire? When we're fellowshipping with him, we don't treat him like a spare tire. We don't talk to him every now and then. We don't talk to him just when we have a problem, or when we need something from him. Right? That's not what fellowshipping is all about. Fellowshipping is talking to him every single day about everything. I mean everything. You guys would just be amazed at the things that I ask the Lord sometimes. And sometimes he gives me answers, sometimes I don't hear anything back. But if it's important, I do hear. Right? It's when we have fellowship and we get to know him. We get to know the Lord. Like I said, if we have a friend and we don't ever there's no communication going with that friend, and that friend doesn't know anything about us and we don't know anything about them, that's not much of a friendship. A couple of weeks ago, I stopped at St. Francis to visit someone, and as I was getting into the elevator, this girl called up and she said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I was kind of embarrassed that I didn't know who she was. But she knew who I was because she had been here. And she said, "You're the lady who talks about the tithes and the offerings." And I said, "Yeah." And so now I'm racking my brains trying to figure out who is she? What is her name? And some kind of way I weaseled her name out of her without her knowing. But she's not a frequent visitor here. She doesn't come very often. Every now and then she comes. And because she's not a regular, it's difficult for you to know people when they're not, regulars, And I said, well, at least she knew who I was, and I thought, man, you've got to be in your best behavior from now on. People know you. So God wants us to have that fellowship with him. He wants us to develop that daily relationship with him. Tell him all of our problems, right? And then we get to know him. We know when his presence is there, Several years ago, when I used to do Avon, and I used to sell this particular perfume, and I liked it. I can't remember the name of the perfume, but back in those days, I bathed in perfume. I mean, I would just get and so I made a friend. This was done in 1987 in Guyana. I'd gone home there for a while, and I made a friend, and she knew that scent, and so I had to walk on Sunday mornings. There was hardly any transportation, and I had to walk like 4 miles to get to church. I mean, by the time I got to church, I was just dripping wet. Okay. But she said to me one day, "I knew when you came, as soon as you came into church this morning, I knew." She sits way up front. I would sit in the back. I said, "How did you know?" She said, "I smelled you." I was thinking, "You smell?" She said, "Yeah, you're the only one that wear that fragrance." How did she know that? Because, we were friends. And she knew, we'd been around each other long enough for her to recognize that scent. So that when I came in, there was no need for her to look back, to see who came in. as soon as I entered, I guess I just lit up the room. and she knew that I had come in. Right? When we have that kind of relationship with God, He can smell it.
Amen.
Have you ever been, in prayer or just, communing with the Lord, and you just smelled the fragrance, and you knew God was there? How did you know? Because of the relationship that you have with Him and Him with you. And that's what God wants, and He wants us to have that daily relationship with Him. Right? He wants us to listen to Him. In Mark 1:35, Jesus is a perfect example. Mark chapter 1 verse 35, and it says, "And in the morning, rising up a great while before day, He went out and departed into a solitary place, and there prayed." See what He did? He rose up early in the morning, and He went off by Himself, and He prayed. This was Jesus, the Son of God. He found it necessary to do this, right? To get strength for the day, get direction for the day. I know some of us are not morning people. I'm not particularly a morning person. But I find when I get up early in the morning, when the place is quiet, nobody's calling me, nobody's ringing the doorbell, there's not, people are still asleep. That's the best time, to fellowship with God, because, there are no distractions. There's nothing pulling on you.
Amen.
And you can give all of your thoughts, all of your attention to God, and He can speak to you and you can hear it.
Amen.
Usually, if you're focused, you will hear it. He speaks us through His Word. That's not the only way He speaks, but He does speak through His Word. One time I was going through a very difficult time, and I was having devotions with my two older kids at the dining table. I just sort of opened the Bible, and then this verse just jumped out at me. I mean, it was as though it was just magnified. How many of you have had that experience where a verse is just magnified? That's God speaking. And it says, "If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small." And I looked at it and I said, "Lord, are you telling me I'm weak?" But He was speaking to me. "If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small." I would never heard that had I not opened His Word. He speaks through His Word. Sometimes He speaks, it might be an impression, that you will get. I was sharing with the intercessory team this past week, and I got an impression about a little girl that I knew. Her and Matt went to school together. They were in kindergarten. Now, I'm not sure if the last time I saw her was in kindergarten or first grade, but that's a long time ago. I hadn't thought about her in all these years, and then suddenly, she just came to mind. About 2-3 days later, Matt is texting me, and he said, "Do you remember her?" And he sends me this picture, and I look, and I texted Matt, and I said, "Is this person?" I mentioned her name, and he said, "Yes." And he said, "I was on Facebook, and all of a sudden she just popped up." Now, that was no coincidence. That the Lord, after, all these years of not thinking about her, not even seeing her, I don't even know where she is, God put her, the thought came to me. And then a few days later, Matt is texting me. And I prayed for her, and I've been praying for her ever since. I don't know what's going on with her, But Pastor said, that's a season. He was talking to different ones, and he said, we were sharing things, and he said, there's a season when you pray, there's a season. And when it's that season, and God is putting it on your mind, to pray for that person, pray them out of whatever they're going through. It may be a difficult time. It may be winter for them. They're in a hard place, and He's putting you to pray for them. And if you don't hear and you don't obey because you're not listening, I mean, we're letting God down when we do that. You know, how many times, you know, God put an impression on us to do something for someone and we didn't do it, and you know, they never got the need met or they never got the answer to their prayer because we were disobedient. That's why it's important for us to hear, you know, hear God, to hear and to know how to hear Him. Fellowshipping is a very important element in hearing God. Reading His Word, because He speaks through His Word. Listening to the impressions that we get. Sometimes it's very faint. Sometimes it's so faint that we just ignore it, you know, or we reason it away. I was also sharing about Chick-fil-A. We had left prayer once again. Can't remember if it was a Tuesday or a Friday, but all of a sudden, I just got this impression, go to Chick-fil-A. And I thought, Chick-fil-A? I don't need nothing from Chick-fil-A. You know, I don't want to go there. And, you know, I was in the far left lane, go to Chick-fil-A. And so I thought, well, okay, so I started to go, but I couldn't get out because of traffic. You know, it was midday and traffic was just coming. And it seems like nobody was letting me in. And I was just, I don't know. You know, maybe it's just me. You know how you do it? It's just maybe reason it away. And for the rest of that day, I felt horrible. Because afterwards I recognized that for whatever reason, God wanted me to go to Chick-fil-A. Maybe there was someone there that I could have witnessed to, someone that I could have prayed for. Who knows? Maybe I could have been blessed.
Amen.
Give me the free lunch. But I mean, I felt horrible, you know, that I didn't obey that impression. And I asked the Lord to help me, you know, not to do that again, not to reason things away, you know, not to, you know, say, well, maybe you know, something I saw on TV, or maybe it's a book that I read, or, you know, the enemy, he's always there with some phony thing. And if we're not sensitive enough, we will listen to him and, you know, totally ignore God. So he gives us these impressions. And I've had to ask the Lord several times when I get an impression and I'm not sure. I've had to ask him, Lord, if this is you, you know, let me know, show me. And you know, it's amazing how he'll show you. You know, somebody will either say something about that situation, or it might be somebody that you're not even talking to. They're talking to someone else, but they're talking about the very thing that God has impressed upon you. You know, and if you're not keen enough, if you're not sensitive, you know, you can miss it. Or you can just say, oh, it's coincidence. That seems to be our favorite word. Oh, it's coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. All right. You could be driving and there's a billboard with, you know, with the same thing that God is talking to you about. Or you can open a book and, you know, there's a picture with a commercial or ad or something about the very topic that God is talking to you about. These are signals that we're getting, you know, and we ignore them. Okay? If we are going to live victorious lives, and if we are going to get, you know, what God wants to give us, we're going to have to start learning, you know, not to ignore his signals.
Amen.
You know, it's like the blinking yellow light. You know, prepare, you know, be cautious. And we just totally ignore it and just go plowing right through the intersection and then bam, you know, accident. And then afterwards we say, oh, didn't I listen? I should have listened. Isn't it amazing how we always figure it out afterwards? So listening is very important. Obeying. Don't be like me. You know, God says go here, and I say, oh, I don't need nothing from there. You know. Obedience is the key. Several years ago, it was Wednesday, I remember, because I had gone shopping, And I rushed home to put away the groceries so I can go to church. And Matt was probably about 4 years old. He was very young. And so I pulled into the garage and I opened the door. And I was greeted by just gas. I mean, it was like almost knocked us out. Of course, Matt didn't care. He ran back and, to watch his favorite cartoon, Arthur. He used to like to watch Arthur. So I got into the house and I opened up all the windows, all the doors and everything to air the gas out. And it was about 6:30. It was winter, or it was starting to get winter, and it was starting to get, it gets dark early. And I was going to look into the telephone book to call Superior Gas for them to come and check out what was going on. And so I was reaching to flip the switch the light on. And as I was reaching, I heard way down inside of here, and it was a storm. It was almost like a warning, do not flip that switch. And so instinctively I pulled back, but I reached again for it. We had a dimmer that was never really turned off. We never really clicked it off. You would just turn it down and up. You control the chandelier in our dining room. And so I turned that little knob on, and the lights came on, and I called the gas company. Well, they didn't show up till about 10 o'clock at night. It took like 4 hours for them to show up. And the guy came and he did what he did, and at the end he said to me, he had this puzzled look on his face, and he said, "How did you get the light on?" And I forget. Isn't it amazing how quickly you forget? I said, "Oh, I just flipped the switch." And he said, "You just flipped the switch? Lady, for the amount of gas that was in this house, when you flipped that switch, this house should have exploded." I mean, with all the windows and the doors open, and 4 hours there was so much gas, because what was happening there was something wrong with our unit, and it was leaking gas into the house. So even though I had the windows and doors open, gas still kept coming in. So I didn't think, not to turn on that light. All I was thinking, I need to get the gas people here. Holy Spirit spoke. He said, "Do not flip that switch." Had I not obeyed, I would have been toast. History, long time ago. You guys would have never known about me. Maybe one person or two people here would have known about me. Everybody else, you just heard it on the news or read about it in the newspaper. Wouldn't have meant anything to you because you don't know me. But obedience saved my life. Saved the life of my son. Had I not obeyed, afterwards, when he left and I went to pick my husband up, he was working a part-time job in Columbus. And you know how you reflect on things. And then it hit me. You didn't flip the switch. You turned that dimmer on. And I'm telling you, I got goosebumps. When it really were just stirred, that I could be in toast. The whole house, because gas just kept coming in. So obedience is the key when God tells us to do something. It could save our life. It could save the life of someone else. Obedience is, obedience. When we hear, we must obey. Right? And the more we obey, the easier it is. We've heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. Right? The more we practice hearing God, the more we practice doing what He says, listening and obeying, the easier it'll get for us to recognize Him. Because, Satan is always coming. The minute God tells you something, Satan comes with his thought. I don't know how he knows when God is speaking to us. One time I was in a bookstore, and a Christian bookstore, and this was in Hawaii. And the Lord spoke to me and told me, "Buy that book for so-and-so." And instantly another voice came and said, "Oh, don't waste your money. She is halfway blind. She won't be able to read it," because she had told me that she was losing her sight. And so I stood there and I thought, yeah, why, she's not going to be able to read this book. I picked the book up and I flipped through the pages, and the print was rather, small. But then I thought, I know I heard that I should buy this book. I bought the book. Praise God, I bought the book and I mailed it to her. And when she received that book, she called me and she was so excited. She said that book has been such an encouragement to me. I read it every day, 3-4 times a day. I mean, she couldn't thank me enough. Now you see, God told me to buy the book. The enemy comes with his thought, you know, oh, you know, you're going to waste your money. She's not going to be able to read it. You see how he does? And I had to discern between the two voices. Right? Now, I was able to discern God's voice because of the relationship that I have with him, because of being in fellowship. If I just visited with him every once in a while, I would know, you know, I wouldn't know his voice, you know. I don't know if this ever happens to you. You're reading the Word, you know, and you're reading and you're going along really good, and then all of a sudden you go back because something that you read didn't sound right. You know, and what happened? You misread it as you were reading it. Somehow the enemy interjected another word that made the whole verse not, you know, no, this doesn't sound right. You know, and when I go back and read it again, it was nothing like I read it before. That was the enemy. Why was I able to get it, catch it? Because I know God's nature. I know he wouldn't say that, you know. And how would I know that? Because I read it. I've read that verse before. Right? So having a relationship, having, you know, being in fellowship with God, you know, it goes a long way in making it easy for us to hear him. Romans 12, verse 1 and 2. I'm going to read this on my phone. Okay. It says, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. God doesn't want us to be, he doesn't want us to conform to the world. He doesn't want us to be like the world, to act like the world, you know, live in the world, you know, talk like them, do what they do. Because when we do that, what we're doing, we're causing, you know, other stuff to come in that would block out God's voice when he speaks, make it difficult for us to hear him. Have you ever been listening to the radio? You're driving and you're listening to the radio, you know, maybe it's on sports or something, or you're listening to a song on the radio, and then all of a sudden another radio station just come and overpower the one you're listening to, and then you can't hear the sound anymore. You can no longer hear what the person is saying, right? Another frequency that was stronger than the frequency that you were listening to just come and take over. I hate that. And, you know, that's what happens when we conform to the Word of God. You know, we get everything that the Word is throwing at us. You know, right now there's the great debate going on, you know, in preparation for the election. And if we get all caught up in it, and instead of, you know, getting into the Word, we're listening, you know, to CNN, or we're listening to Fox or whoever. And God is trying to tell us something, but we're too busy listening to what this person is saying or what that person is saying. It clogs us. It takes us off of the right frequency. Right? It gets us out of sync with God, you know, and you know, and gets us away so that we're not able to hear him clearly. You know, just like on the radio, not the radio station just comes and takes over. And you're trying to hear your station, but you can't because this other voice is there, you know. But when we keep the lines open, when we keep the connection open, when we fellowship with God, we read his word, we listen, we obey. When the enemy comes in and tries to take over, because, you know, he's going to try, we'll be strong. Our wavelength, our frequency will be strong, and he will be able to overpower us. He wouldn't be able to block our ears, you know. He wouldn't be able to distort what God is trying to say to us. If we have to do these things, God is going to do it for us. Sometimes we expect God to do it, you know, but he has given us certain authority, you know, and we have to exercise it. And we exercise it by reading his word, you know, by, you know, talking to him, being in fellowship, praising him, you know, listening, obeying, You know, so that when he has something important to, you know, or it could be just something little that he wants to tell us, we can hear it, we can catch it. Like today, I almost missed it. I learned something today. Never argue with the Holy Spirit. It's like, you wouldn't win. I mean, I was so sure it was the third Sunday. And I argued, and I said, no, it's not. And it turned out that I was wrong. You know, I'm thankful that he helped me, because I mean, I was just way off, you know. Renewing our minds. When we renew our minds, he wants us to renew our minds so that we can prove what is good and acceptable and perfect, his perfect will. Okay? Don't be conformed to the world. Don't be allowing the world to, you know, to crowd us and get us, you know, all beaten down. When you listen to what the world has to say, right now everything is negative. You know, everybody is going to hell in a handbasket. There's no hope for a miracle. The economy is so, you know, it's just bad news, okay? And if you sit there day after day after day and you take that in, when God is speaking, he's trying to tell you there's hope, you know, look and be saved, come away with me, like he did. He went away, he was the Son of God. If he had to get up early in the morning and go away, why do we think that we are any better? We need time. It may not be early in the morning, but we need time with God. We need to have that fellowship. We need to have that communion. And we need to listen. We need to hear, and we need to obey. All right? So those are the points, guys. If you will do that, you know, have fellowship. If you're a sheep, fellowship with God. All right? Listen to him. It's a two-way street. Have you ever had a friend that just talk, and you can get into words? You're trying to say something, you can't, because all they're doing is talk. Sometimes we just need to be quiet and listen, and God will speak to us. Right? Whatever it is we're facing, whatever it is, it looks impossible, whatever it looks difficult, God can, if we listen, we can get the solution, just like that. So, I encourage you, each and every single one of you, including myself, make an effort, fine-tuning your skills when it comes to hearing God. Your life may depend on it. Somebody's life may depend on it. The blessing that God has to give you may depend on you listening. He may want you to go at a certain place at this particular time, you know, and if you're not there, you miss it. Elijah, during the days of famine, he was the Bible said that the raven brought bread and flesh to him in the morning, and bread and flesh to him in the evening, and he drank from the brook. He had to be in that particular place. What if he had decided that he wasn't going to the brook Cherith? I think that's the name of the brook. This was a nicer brook over here. Let me go here. No, God said go here. Right? So we have to hear and obey, take heed, right? And he was blessed. Then when the brook dried up, he sent him to the widow woman, this particular widow woman. What if he had said, oh, I don't like her, I don't like, she's not an Israelite, or, you know, she's a Samaritan, I'm not going there, I'm going here, to this widow. God didn't send him here, he said here, right? We have to hear and obey. And him and the woman ate from that meal of, you know, and the oil for the whole time the famine was in. She had to obey. What if when Elisha had said, make me a cake first? And she had said, no, all I have is this little bit, this is just for me and my son, I can't make for you. She would not have been sustained during that time of famine. Obedience is the key. Right? We can hear God, but if we don't obey, you know, we're not going to get the results that we're expecting. So we obey him, we fellowship with him, we listen. All those are keys. And the more we do it, the better we get at it. And the enemy will not be able to defeat us, and we will have victory.
Amen.
What a wonderful message tonight. Thank